Despite several attempts from the left over the past year to institute some form of national gun control, every effort they've undertaken so far has fallen completely flat. Americans aren't going to surrender our Second Amendment rights that easy, and despite the left's best attempts at propaganda, that axiom has held true over the past few years. We've covered some of the propaganda attempts here on this channel. They've tried using children, spoken word poets, and they've even virtue signaled so hard they've broken federal law in the process. But when all other attempts to push your agenda fail, there's always a tried and true strategy you can fall back on. You can just start lying and hope people are too dumb to notice. And that's exactly what they've been reduced to. In today's video, we'll break down the latest sob story gun grab from our dear friends at Now This. It's chock full of emotional pleas, unfounded claims, distortions of fact, and of course, some scary, ominous music to really drive the point home. But before we jump into that, let's talk quickly about how you can protect yourself and your online privacy this summer. While you're probably taking some time off for summer fun and vacations, hackers and those that would steal your private information are still hard at work. And if you're using a free VPN service, you're setting yourself up to get burned this summer. This month, users of popular crypto wallet service MyEtherWallet were warned about a breach that occurred as a result of a free VPN service being hacked, with millions of users at risk. This incident is a reminder of why everyone should steer clear of shady free VPNs and use a trusted, legitimate, secure VPN with a team dedicated to keeping you and your information safe from online threats. This is why you need to protect yourself from free VPNs that actually make you less safe, and instead sign up for Virtual Shield. With their no-log policy, they guarantee ultimate privacy and anonymity to everyone using their service. They're by far the easiest, fastest, and safest VPN I've come across, which is why I only recommend them to my audience. Right now, for about $1 a week, you can get Virtual Shield's world-class protection, plus a year of their IdentiSafe on-demand microphone and camera blocking technology for about $1 a week. It's an incredible deal that you can't beat. Shield your internet traffic from hackers and data loggers, and keep your conversations and computer video private at the same time. Visit virtualshield.com/allsup today to take advantage of this awesome limited time deal. They're the only VPN service that I use and trust.
In America today, we have an epidemic of gun violence. We have about 96 Americans killed every single day in this country from gun violence.
Imagine my shock. I can't believe we have to keep debunking this stat. While 96 Americans a day do die from guns, what the left won't tell you is how many of these deaths are self-inflicted. Even according to the left-wing group Everytown for Gun Safety, a whopping 62% of gun deaths in America are suicides. So, when you do the math, that's approximately 52 Americans a day shooting themselves with a gun, leaving 44 a day that are killed in gun homicides. But the way they present this number seems to imply that all 96 are being killed forcefully in homicides, when in fact, homicide victims are the minority of gun deaths in the U.S.
Imagine if a regional jet full of people dropped out of the sky every single day, killing everybody on board. We would do something to stop that and to keep planes from crashing. But the magnitude of America's gun violence problem is even bigger. 96 people are killed every day by a gunshot.
Not to be pedantic here, but actually, America's most common regional jet is the Bombardier Q400, which typically carries 82 passengers and 4 crew for a total of 86 people, not 96. Whew. Nearly 300 videos into my YouTube career, and I finally had the opportunity to use my hundreds of hours of flight simulator and pilot training knowledge in a video. Feels good, man. Anyways, again, this comparison doesn't work because what you're actually talking about is not one Bombardier Q400. You're really talking about 16 Learjet 60s. Each of these Learjet 60s is carrying the standard 4 passengers and 2 crew. Every day, 9 of these Learjet crews and sets of passengers decide they just want to end it all. They've had enough. They're fed up with their 420 knot cruise speed, 2,400 nautical mile range, 22.9 meter per second climb rating. They just want to end it. So they plow their $15 million aircraft into the side of a mountain voluntarily. 7 of those 16 Learjet 60s do exactly what the presenters say and fall randomly out of the sky. Clearly, Learjet would have a problem with reliability, but the majority of those deaths would be the fault of the user. The same thing is happening with guns. Suicidal people will find a way to take their own life, whether or not they find a gun. It's not the fault of the manufacturer, or in this case, it's not the fault of the firearm.
And yet, we've done very little as a nation to stop that public health epidemic over the last few years.
Our gun problem is a uniquely American problem. We have lost more people to gun violence in this country since 1970 than we have lost soldiers in all of America's wars combined. We literally have an undeclared war here in America on American soil when we have nearly 100 people a day dying from gun violence.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on over at Command if over half of the casualties in this war are self-inflicted. Nice use of the word literally, but This literally is not a war. We do have a suicide epidemic, yes, but that has more to do with depression, overprescription of mind-altering medicines, lack of physical fitness, malnutrition, lack of economic opportunity, and poor life decision-making. Again, it's not the fault of the gun. If we want to use homicide as the metric, which is a lot better way to understand the prevalence of violence, America starts looking quite a bit safer, especially in the least diverse areas. Take a look at the top 15 most dangerous countries in the world. All of them are in Central and South America, the Caribbean, or Africa. People are killing each other all over in these countries. Now, look at the top 15 countries as ranked by gun ownership. Almost all of them are safer, according to their homicide rates, than the US. Clearly, rate of gun ownership does not determine how dangerous a country is. The type of people that live in that country determine how violent it is. Notice that the safe countries tend to be pretty European.
We need gun owners, most of whom are very responsible with their weapons, to be talking about safe storage of guns so that kids don't have easy access to them and unintentionally shoot their brothers and sisters.
Obviously, this is something that is very tragic and we don't want it to happen, but it's important to note just how rare this phenomenon is. Of the 96 deaths a day, only 1 out of 96 is an accidental death, and not all of those deaths are children. Again, 1 out of 96. It's important to store your guns safely, absolutely, but there's nothing wrong with keeping a gun in your bedside table or under your mattress as long as it's safe and legal to do so. The whole point of having a gun in the home is so you can use it in case of emergency. It doesn't do you any good to have a gun for self-defense, and then when the time comes to use it for self-defense, God forbid, you have to fumble over a series of locks and safes and safeguards before you can actually defend yourself.
1.7 million children in America live in a home with a loaded and unlocked gun. 8 kids a day are killed or injured with those guns. We can do better.
See, this is deceptive too. And just to prove that they're being deceptive, I'm going to use their own stats against them. According to the Brady campaign's own website, every day, 7 children under 18 are killed by guns. 3 are suicides and 4 are homicides. Of those 4, a large percentage are gang or crime related. However, 40 children are shot and survive. But of those that are shot and survive, only 8 are shot accidentally, which means that less than 20% of children shot are shot accidentally, and the fatality rate, as we previously talked about, is extremely low, 1 in 96. They're pushing tighter regulations not to protect kids. The effect, even if accidental injuries were completely eliminated, would be negligible compared to the hassle and burden and risk that would be imposed upon law-abiding gun owners.
There's also a role here for the licensed gun dealers in America to play. You know, there are more licensed gun sellers in America than there are McDonald's and Starbucks combined. And the overwhelming majority of them take very seriously their obligation to safeguard the American public. But a small number of them don't. And they are selling guns wantonly, willfully, negligently to criminals. We need them to shape up.
Well, considering it's already a felony to break the laws that govern FFLs, this is already handled. If dealers are breaking the law, punish them. But I'm not seeing the compelling evidence here proving that this is a problem.
Part of what drives our problem with gun violence in America is that we have let the people who benefit from selling more and more guns to more people have a louder voice than the rest of us. It actually shouldn't surprise us that the gun makers and gun sellers who are in the business of selling guns resist any effort to reduce the number of people who can buy guns or the ways that they can buy them.
Yeah, this simply isn't true either. In fact, the NRA, or National Rifle Association, supported the passage of the law that established the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. And yes, establishing NICS makes it harder for people to buy guns, but it's a good limitation because it prevents criminals and people with violent records from getting access to firearms.
At Brady, we've come out with a 3-point plan. First, we need background checks on every gun sold in America because today, 1 in 5 guns is sold without any background check at all. Second, Congress needs to renew the assault weapon ban. We had one in effect, but it expired in 2004, and it is time for Congress to reenact that ban because these assault weapons are the weapon of choice in almost every high-profile mass shooting.
It's interesting that they'll use words like assault weapon, but they won't actually define them. To the left, an assault weapon is any gun that looks black and scary. They should just be honest and call this what it is, a full ban on semi-automatic firearms. Dianne Feinstein said it best in this classic video clip.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it. I could not do that.
Third, we need to enact extreme risk laws at the federal level and until then in every state in the nation. What these laws do is enable a family member or law enforcement officer to ask a judge to temporarily remove guns from somebody in crisis. And this is of particular importance in the Parkland context, because there we knew that the shooter was dangerous. He had been reported to the police many, many times by school officials and family members and others. And yet the police were powerless to do anything about it because Florida didn't have one of these extreme risk laws. And now I'm pleased to say that Florida does.
Yeah, I totally can't see this being used maliciously against people improperly at all. Actually, I definitely can, because it almost happened to me. I haven't talked about this experience publicly before, but in August of last year, myself and a friend were falsely accused of sexual harassment by the girlfriend of one of our roommates. We literally did nothing wrong. The accusation was completely fabricated and false. It was investigated by the police, and they found the testimony of my friend and I to be credible, and the police and prosecutor completely dismissed the situation. To make a long story short, an accuser in a situation like that, no matter whether the accusation is true or not, has the ability to petition a judge for a protective order. And if there is a protective order issued against you, your right to own firearms disappears. Your guns can be confiscated, and in most states, you lose the right to have a concealed carry permit. I know just how risky laws like this can be when maliciously used by people with no legitimate grievances, who just want to abuse the well-intentioned laws in place to hurt people that they don't like. And that's why I'm concerned about these extreme risk laws. They're a violation of due process for the accused, and the accused often have no appeal process, which of course makes it harder for wrongfully accused gun owners to get their firearms back. Keep that in mind when the left begins talking about, quote, extreme risk laws. They can be used to hurt anybody. And remember just how dishonest they can be with the truth. Most of the numbers in this video were technically accurate in some way, but were presented in a misrepresentative manner in order to imply that America's situation with guns is worse than it actually is.